1600 to 1914, a time of restoration and conquest. It was a time that our world was introduced to many concepts, ideas, and literature. Together, let's take a journey to this time period and explore the Little Ice Age. As we take our journey, we will explore the causes and the outcomes of the Little Ice Age and its temperatures, as it began to decrease in 1150. The climate met its strongest decline in 1560, and it continued to drop until 1850, as increased glaciation and storms played devastating roles in the lives of people near glaciers in the sea. The cold weather experienced by the Europeans impacted agriculture, health, economies, social strife, immigrations, and it even played a huge role in the creation of art and literature.
Volcanoes may have triggered the very beginning of the Little Ice Age during a 50-year period of massive tropical volcano explosions around 1300 CE. This theory stemmed at the University of Colorado Boulder with co-authors at the National Center for Atmospheric Research. They claimed that the eruptions of these volcanoes triggered sea ice and ocean currents, causing the temperatures to drop for centuries.
Another theory of the cause of the Little Ice Age is that decreased radiation from the sun caused a decline in temperature. A record of sunspots on the sun is shown in this graph, and this decrease in sunspots correlated to a decrease in radiation of the sun. On the graph, you can see the Maunder minimum effect, which is when the sun's two cycles don't match up. One cycle of the Maunder minimum's effect was between 1600 and 1750. This caused a phase or cycle with little solar activity, resulting in a 60% reduction of solar activity.
The Little Ice Age was a climate interval when glaciers expanded in several places around the globe, and the average temperatures in the northern hemisphere dropped by 1.1 degrees Fahrenheit. Northern Europe was subject to long winters and short rainy summers, while Southern Europe faced drought and season-long periods of heavy rain. Multi-year droughts were also experienced in equatorial Africa and Central and South Asia. In general, there was an increase on variability in the temperature and precipitation that was new to the people that inhabited the northern hemisphere. Scott Mandia, a professor in New York, has studied physical science and the mini ice age that our world faced. His studies state that growing seasons changed by 15 to 20% between the warmest and coldest parts of the millennium. The drop in temperatures was capable of destroying any food production, especially crops that had adapted to the warm climates in Europe. England, for example, had only 1 to 2 months of prime growing time until their crop production fell. As crops decreased, pieces of the market skyrocketed. The year 1816, or the year without a summer, noticeably peaked due to unfavorable climates. Famine struck all over Europe, hitting largely populated countries and killing millions. In Norway, deep snow covered the ground deep into the spring months of April and May. Mendia's article also shows that farms and lands were abandoned, and as tax dollars raised, the issue increased. Money became a problem. In addition to the increasing grain prices, there was also an example of economic impact from the dramatic cooling of the climate. Due to famine, storms, and growth of glaciers, many farmsteads were destroyed and resulted in less tax revenues collected due to decreased value of the properties. The cooler temperatures held a huge impact on the health of Europeans. Death and famine killed millions, and poor nutrition decreased the stature and capability of working men and women.
The wet summers that occurred led to outbreaks of what is known as St. Anthony's Fire. Whole villages would suffer convulsions, hallucinations, gangrenous rotting of the extremities, and even death. On top of that, malnutrition led to a weakened immune system, making people more vulnerable to disease. Also, influenza affected entire families. Once one person got infected, the whole family lost hope. As the weather initially started to cool, the bubonic plague spread exponentially. Malaria was also a concern, especially in the winter when the little food that people had gone bad.
When the Little Ice Age began around the 1600s, ice began to appear in places that did not have ice before. As seen in these paintings from the 1600s, ice skating can be observed in London and the Netherlands for the very first time. This global cooling period ended in the 1800s, and ice began to disappear where it had appeared around 300 years before. This is the Frozen Thames, painted in 1677 by Abraham Hondius. This painting shows that the Thames River froze over during the Little Ice Age. After the Little Ice Age was over, it did not freeze over again and has not frozen in nearly 2 centuries.
The lessons of the Little Ice Age don't affect us in everyday life, but despite our air-conditioned cars and our computer-controlled irrigation systems, we are no less vulnerable today. There's no doubt that we will adapt again, or the price, as always, will be high.